When's the last time you saw an Acura NSX, first generation? It's been a long time. I've worked on several, and now we're going to take a look at another one today. Let's get started. So you guys just saw a video on an '84 Honda Prelude. Well, we're continuing down that line with an Acura NSX. It's not as old as the Prelude was. It's a '91, but it's still getting long in the tooth. I've worked on a lot of these, and this one's I've worked on several times, and finally the customer is getting ready to possibly sell this one, and they are interested in just going through it and getting everything up to snuff and fixed. These are so cool. It's iconic. I've had a few people who deliver parts or things come into the shop and they're like, man, that's an awesome Ferrari. No, it's not a Ferrari. It's Japanese. It's from Japan. It's Honda, Acura. That back there is a Ferrari. But I can see if you're not in the car world and you see a red car, they both look like shaped like a wedge of cheese, like Crazy D calls them. You could get them confused. When I mention this is an Acura, basically Honda, they actually think I'm lying. Like, no, that's a Ferrari. So they go around and look at the badges and see Acura and NSX on it, and they're like, it's not known by most people who just drive cars as utility, just a car to be a car to be a car. But in the car world, who people are into cars, they know exactly what this is. And when this pulled up, Grimes was ecstatic to work on it. We'll get him here in a minute, show you some of the things he found. But let's take a look around this beautiful car. Just like on the Prelude, you guys love the pop-up headlight era. So do I. Look at that, guys. Beautiful. Gorgeous. There's the beautiful front end of this NSX. It doesn't look like 1991, does it, guys? It looks like it totally could be 2005. It's a timeless design. So we got 15-inch wheels up front, and in the back we actually have 16-inch wheels. Look at the tail end of this thing, guys. Absolutely beautiful. This is like playing your favorite video game back in the day and driving your dream car around. This is a dream car for many people. Black top with red paint on the bottom. Gorgeous car. Now let's play the game for those of you who are not initiated with an Acura NSX. Where's the engine? So we'll start up front. So there we go, guys. It does have a hood prop here. I'll go ahead and prop it up for us. Right there. I don't see an engine, Mrs. Wizard.
No. We've got like some brake stuff going on, some windshield wiper stuff. There's obviously the spare. Looks like a radiator.
Yep, there's a radiator. There's the ABS module, which we're currently having some issues with.
It's got the fuse box.
Yep, fuse boxes, some relay boxes, things going on of that nature. You can see the HVAC box, which is back there, and right below it, down below, is the battery for the car.
Oh, conveniently placed.
Yes, but no engine. Okay, well, let's go to the back. So for everyone who thinks, oh, it's a cool Ferrari, well then that means the engine must be in the back, right? Let's see. No. There's a car cover.
Oh, good. I was hoping that wasn't a dead body.
No. There's some service records here. No engine, though. Well, where the hell's the engine at on this thing? It's very strange. I'll show you. You guys ready for this? It's under the back glass. What? There it is. It's our 3-liter Honda double overhead cam VTEC V6 with the transmission over on this side. But there it is. It sits right behind the seats where you drive. It's not in the back where the trunk is. It's truly a mid-engine car. It's literally in the middle of the car. We're going to be doing a timing belt service on this actually, which is in the area where Mrs. Wizard is panning around now in the front of the engine. We just have a few seconds of you guys' time. Today's video is actually sponsored by Mrs. Wizard's Part Works. Imagine that. You guys definitely don't want to miss out on some of the auctions going on here. This one's actually got a Lotus shift boot from the Esprit V8 that was in the shop. It actually looks like a shifter now. It lights up. This one's actually kind of a shaving mirror, and the mirror is off of a Rolls Royce, an old 50s or 60s Rolls Royce, probably a Silver Cloud or something. But anyways, there's lots of really sweet, awesome part work. She sold a lot of them already, and this is the next batch to come out. Again, all the information, all the links, everything that you need is in the description below. It's going to be on eBay. You guys definitely want to dive into this. Now, back to today's car. You look brand new out of a package, freshly creased and everything.
Well, from the waist up anyway.
From the waist up. I mentioned just a minute ago here on the video that you're very excited to dive into this thing.
Oh yeah. Don't get many of these.
This is a halo car. Totally a halo car. But this one has some problems. Like I mentioned, it's going to be worked through, and Grimes has already went through most of it and found all the issues. Some of them start underneath this, what is it, a hood? A frunk? A trunk?
Frunk?
A frunk?
I'd probably call it a frunk.
Let's get this back open. So this thing has some squishy brakes, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I got in to move it in, did notice that you had brake pressure immediately, but then the pedal would just slowly go to the floor.
You found probably what that problem is what?
So looks like the master cylinder's leaking. I'm not sure if you can see it from up here, but when
oh yeah,
it does look like the master is leaking out.
Right below the master cylinder, you can see some sludge coming out the bottom. So that would be some leaking for sure.
Yeah, those master cylinder seals, when they fail, you get that that symptom there.
The last time this car was here, it had some issues with the ABS. It made chattering noises, and what you found, it's not even operating at all now, is it?
Nope. I went ahead and jumpered the pump relay, and just to see if the pump would even come on, and it won't even power up now.
So this is an ABS system, which is right here where we just were at. You can see it's got all kinds of hard lines and electronics and things going on. There's a pump that pumps up an accumulator, and the whole analog brake system there. These cars are notorious for having some ABS problems, and this one's no exception. So you're going to dive in and see maybe just a motor and an accumulator and flush the system. We might get lucky.
Hopefully that's it. Otherwise, yeah, we'll have to be dealing with the solenoids. Each wheel is controlled by a separate solenoid, and luckily this is a standalone ABS unit. So without that operating, the brakes themselves should still operate. Obviously, if the master is in good shape. Right.
And you mentioned while you were in here, you're starting to see some issues with this radiator.
Yeah, the radiator intakes, you can see they're kind of discolored, turning a greenish brown. Got a little seepage here, and then up underneath of it, you can see where it's seeping from the end caps. This one appears to be the original radiator, so it'd probably be a good idea to replace this one.
Definitely. We'll get it up in the air here in a minute, but let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the interior, and we're going to show you why it's all torn apart.
Here we are, ladies and gents. As you can see, 103,471 miles. That's some good miles on here on a supercar. Let's go ahead and move our hand off that light. And you can see very simple, easy to read gauge cluster, nothing fancy, nothing fabulous in there. But they've definitely toned down the color from 1984 because everything was orange. The numbers, the letters, everything was orange, orange, orange. So they definitely have toned it down in the years since 84. As we move up, you'll see the dash is in really, really great condition. As we move down, you'll see, oh, here we are. We have the glove box, and we open it with nothing. But we do have some directions on the driver's side airbag. Thank you. As we move over, okay, we're missing a few items. So we're the HVAC system, and maybe I'm hoping probably some, vents would have been there. Nope, don't have that. Radio, not so sure where that's at either. There is a gear box here, but well, it is a manual transmission, but I can't tell you how many gears it has just off the top of my head. We do have our e-brake, that's still there, but there's not much else. Okay. There should be a center, armrest here, but that's not present either. As we look at our seat, nice ivory leather, got some nice tufting going on, nice bolster on the sides, keeps you nicely hugged into place. As we look at our door card, you'll see that there is nice black leather in the center section with some nice black wrapped around it as well, with a little bit more of that ivory accents. And as we look at our footwell, well, there it all is. Well, okay, so the armrest would say NSX. Oh, dual overhead cam. Okay, great. Here's our HVAC controls. Okay, here's the rest of that center section with a vent in there somewhere. Okay. Oh, there we go. There's like a ashtray maybe. There's the cigarette lighter. There's a few items down there, but at least they're being safely kept. We just don't know what's going on here, and we don't know who Kai is. Okay. As we move, well, there's no back seat. The closest thing we have here is a little bit of a, well, area between the seats and with a speaker, because there's nothing else back there, because, you know, about 8 inches that way is an engine. A very nice, fast engine. Underneath that big black sea of abyss back there. As we move up to our headliner, nice ivory leather again, all looking fabulous. It's leather, it's easy to clean, so no Cheeto fingers. Again, we've got just some very simple controls for our lights and very nice little visors as well. And I love the center one. I always appreciate when they add this one in, because you know what, when you're driving, that sun is going to be living right there all the time. It's always nice to have that one where you can just knock it down. So we're back at our steering wheel, and we see the lovely Acura embossed on that center section there. It has a total of 4 buttons. 2 of them are for the horn, and we have 2 for the cruise. And many people are like, oh, I would never want cruise control on a supercar. Well, you know what? If you're traveling down the highway doing 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, and you're not changing gears, you're not doing any of that, you're just traveling down the highway, I can definitely appreciate that. Especially if I'm having to follow them, and I want to keep that speed consistent. So enough of this interior talk. I really wonder where that radio is. Let's go find Grimes and see what he's done with that.
One of the complaints the customer had is that the audio was just cutting out. Most of the time it just cuts out. Occasionally it would come on, but usually it was off. We tested the amps and everything looked good, but Grimes actually pulled apart the radio and found the smoking gun. Let me show you guys what he found.
So yeah, on that we did test the power circuit. We tested, checked the amplifier. The amps had actually been replaced. Amps plural. They have 3 of them in this car.
Yeah.
1 in each door and 1 under the passenger's foot. And so from there, next logical step is inspect the radio. These are known for capacitor failures. And if you look right here on the main board, you can see evidence of trace damage and capacitor failure. And unfortunately, it looks like it also wicked some of that electrolytic fluid into the ribbon cable. So we'll double check that, make sure we've got continuity across all of those. That's the smoking gun on the radio, I think.
All right. So he's going to dive in and see if we can just fix the traces like he showed you, replace the capacitors. We may be able to take care of that in-house and make him have audio again. That would be great. Let's go ahead and get the NSX up in the air and show you guys what it looks like underneath. Well, we know the engine is not in the front, so we're not going to be looking for oil leaks there other than possibly brake leaks, but we do have a radiator up front. Let's take a look. Where these little crimps are, you can see where there's been leaks. Grimes actually found, you can see actually staining where coolant has been draining out of the bottom of the radiator. So it's time for a new radiator on this one. These do have a very complex front suspension. It's various different brackets, control arms onto this bracket, and then there's a control arm up there. There's a bracket right here. Kind of complicated. Everything looks good there. Strut looks okay. Go ahead and check the brakes. Like brand new. Nothing loose. Brakes are good there. Nothing loose there. Here's our accumulator in the bottom of our ABS module, but if we look up in here, you can see all the brake fluid that's been leaking down the booster there. It's been leaking for quite a while. It's actually corroded the paint. So that'll definitely have to be addressed. Here's our battery tray. You can actually see the battery right here. Also carries the spare tire, which is deflated at the moment. You inflate it and then you'll have a spare. And it's very flat right here. There is coolant hoses and pipes under here, but the rest is just flat, rust-free body. Here we get to the business end, actually the middle of the car, roughly the middle. Here's the engine and our transmission, which all are pretty leak-free. But again, we have another complicated rear suspension setup. We have a control arm here, a control arm up above. Then we have a track rod here, a sway bar. Here's our CV shaft. The boots are actually fine. You can just barely see in there the brakes are good, nothing's loose there. Here's our oil filter. Brakes are good. CV boot is good. CV shaft is good. And here's our exhaust. Here's a catalytic converter. It goes right into this large drum-shaped muffler which has twin out the back. It does seem to be hanging a little low, and it's because the rubber mount here is stretched, as you can see. So we'll definitely be addressing that as well. We'll check the date code on the tires, and you can see it says 2 of 19. So they're still good. They're still usable. So that's the underneath of what an Acura NSX first generation looks like. Now you guys have seen it. Let's get this thing on the ground. It's very common to associate a supercar or a car that looks like a supercar with Europe, like Ferrari or Lamborghini. So when someone sees something like this, they go, "Oh, sweet Ferrari, bro." It's actually not anything to do with Europe. There's several cars out there that are like this. This is a really, really neat car, very special car. We're going to get the list together for the customer and show them what we found, and then we'll go ahead and tackle and get this thing up to snuff. It runs and drives perfectly fine, just has a few issues need to take care of before he sells it, so everything is in top-notch shape. These are very, very fun to drive. They drive so good. It's basically a supercar with Honda reliability. It is a very, very rare car too. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use,
No muffler Newton.
no muffler Newton, thanks. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this NSX or any of the cars in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything. We really appreciate it. Make sure to check out Mrs. Wizard's Way. She's got some really sweet videos going on there. There's a link in the description for that as well. And also make sure to hit the subscribe button here because we have a full month of videos waiting for you guys. Thanks for watching.